Hello and welcome back to another recap. Sorry it's been so long. As you can see, I'm in a different setting. I've been moving back to uni. But we are back with the third round recap. As you are hopefully aware, I have gone 1.5 out of 2 in the first 2 rounds. I survived a grueling Sicilian in the first round after a ridiculous blunder. And then a second round where I managed to win against a lower rated opponent. It wasn't clean. I blundered the win away many times, but we will not think about it. A win is a win. We move on to round 3, where I was facing the second seed in the tournament. So I'd already played the 6th seed in the first round. I'm now playing the second. It was a pretty tricky tournament for me. And I was going into this round really nervous. I was really tight. I'd had a decent run and I didn't really want to lose. It'll come back to bite me. You will see. So I was black with this game. Unfortunately, I did have black to start. So with a 5-round tournament, I ended up having 3 blacks and 2 whites rather. But anyway, white went d4. And I was slightly annoyed because I was not totally prepped on d4. I had looked previously at some knight of 6 stuff. I kind of liked the Nimzo, but then I realized I didn't really like the Nimzo after lines like queen c2 is okay. I can play c5 pretty comfortably, but things like f3, playing c5 is not so great. Playing d5 is not so great. There's some tricky lines with this and the Benoni sort of structure, which I wasn't a fan of going into. So instead, I'd prepped just before coming to this tournament a really simple setup. So d5 is what I played. c4, e6, the queen's gambit declined, but I don't really want to play the queen's gambit declined because after knight of 6 here, the exchange variation is a headache. Instead, I play c6. It's now a nice triangle, and it's a sort of semi-Slav. Technically, I think this is the Notaboom variation, but point being, it's really solid. Nice triangle of pawns, strong center, everything is great. And after normal development, knight of 3, knight of 6, we have transposed into a semi-Slav. e3 is a normal move, and I played this move, bishop e7, which I've marked as interesting. It's a slightly weird move order. It's now kind of transposed into a classical-esque Queen's Gambit declined. Technically, what I think was in my prep and what I should have played is knight bd7, which is proper theory in the semi-Slav. Now this b5. But I've looked into it, and it actually gets really nasty after things like this. You have to sort of play this crazy game full of sacrifices. I think you take here and then take. I can't remember, but it's a crazy line after knight bd7. So I'm looking into it and trying to find some interesting ways to get a solid position which has lots of dynamic potential, but not to get into these really, really sharp long lines that you have to memorize. And I think I found the solution, which comes after this bishop d3 rather than a6. I think I'm going to look into bishop d6, but don't tell anyone. This is my new prep. Anyway, bishop e7 was played. It's a move. Everything's fine. Bishop d3. I think, interestingly, castles is probably better here, but I wasn't so sure because of b3, and now I can't play this normal takes that I want to play, and I really like having this bishop on this long diagonal. So being able to take and then gain another tempo with b5 is what I wanted. Whoops, not c5 here. Is what I wanted, so instead I took d takes c4. And now bishop takes c4, I gain the tempo, bishop d3. And now bishop b7, pretty normal. a3, I think is a good move. It stops any b4 business in the future, and it's just actually overall a nice waiting move. You're planning to maybe expand at some point. You let sort of black decide the plans if you want to go e4 after a6, things like this. It keeps it flexible. Castles, I think, is interesting, but I believe now that gives me a6. because I have the possibility of pushing c5, I think. E4 is probably best, but now I have c5, and we've sort of transposed into, I think it's called a Moran. And this is what I really want to aim for, but there's a lot of variations where you don't castle, and it gets really sharp, like I was saying. After a6, instead was knight bd7, and then we transpose into this b4 idea, which is the actual main line. I think this is what I was talking about. Takes, and things get ridiculous. But this was an option that I was kind of hoping for, because after castles, I felt that I had enough time. But a3 means I can't really commit to this, because white hasn't spent a tempo on this castles, and he can strike pretty quickly. Anyway, and it stops this b4 idea, which is most important. So, although saying that, I think a6, e4, c5 is actually worse for me. Yeah, much worse. So I have to play knight bd7 to transpose first, which is why that difference in tempo makes sense. a3 is good. I'll turn the engine off now anyway. So castles, white castles, and now I play knight bd7, which is just way too slow. Here I'm basically almost toast. I just had to commit to a6. I was worried about e4, but I have c5, and for some reason I was seeing ghosts and thinking that this wasn't fine, but it's absolutely fine. I can take with the bishop, and it's literally no problem. Knight bd7 was preparing that, but it's just simply too slow, because now e4 comes and a6 is way too slow. I'd looked at this move e5, which is the problem. I've marked it as great. And I thought, oh, I can just go knight d5. The problem is I didn't go down that line completely, because after takes, this bishop is dead, and basically I'm getting absolutely cooked on the king side. Playing down a piece, this knight is misplaced. I can't really untangle quickly enough. Engine says, yeah, +2 nearly. So I completely messed this up. With a6 is a total mistake. I had to, after e4, I believe, maybe engine is even saying sack a pawn. Let's see. Yeah, it just says give the pawn and hope. So yeah, a6, big mistake. Instead, e5 was not played, thankfully. Bishop e3, which is just, again, too slow. And here, I, panicked, because I thought the move previously I had missed after e5, knight d5. I thought I'd missed another Greek gift. Thankfully, I hadn't. This is actually a blunder, because after takes here, I have this bishop. And the difference is these are lined up compared to the game with the Sicilian, where my queen was on c7, so I couldn't defend this without losing a piece. So I was actually fine. Again, I think it's just seeing ghosts. It's my first tournament back to playing over the board chess. I got scared. I got overly cautious, and I was thinking about a position that had already passed. I didn't evaluate this position. Okay, what's changed? I was like, oh, Greek gift, possible. So I sat here for ages thinking, can I play c5? c5 is actually the best move here, and absolutely what I wanted to play immediately. c5 here, but I was sat here for a while thinking, well, e5, and now if knight d5, then what about this Greek gift idea? I don't want to have this Greek gift idea that I thought I'd missed in the... Again, it covers this square. It's just ridiculous. So g6 is a total mistake and way too slow again, and can be punished by, I think, e5 immediately, which hilariously was the move I was most scared about. I don't know. Second seed, I gave this guy way too much respect, I think, for what it was worth, and yeah. But luckily, Rook c1 came. I think he was having a bad tournament. Up to now, he had got, I think, just 1 point. That was 2 draws against very much lower rated players. So he was a little bit tilted, I think, and playing just safe chess. And now, thankfully, this allowed me to play my beloved c5, and I am actually better here. Even more so after my opponent helps me, and we just trade everything. I'm just so better. Rook e1, and I found this move almost instantly, queen b6. And here I was like, holy shit, this is getting good. So rook e2 is played. Yeah, is what it is. And here I just play like a grandmaster. Rook d8, keeping my rook on this file, developing a piece. After queen c2, rook a c8. I'm totally in control here. And I felt like a boss. Rook d1, and now here bishop f8. The plan is slightly slow. I believe the bishop is actually happy here, but I thought I want to reroute, and I had no real future here, and I couldn't really see a plan after developing my pieces to play. I got here and I was like, great, I have a great position. Now what? Engine says, yes, this incredible tactic, bishop takes a3, which I think I was slightly blind to. It's quite a tricky one because I thought, well, it's always protected, but in fact it's not, because I have this crazy move, queen a5. Whoops, attacking this piece again. And after what seems like the only move to defend, rook c1, I have queen takes a3. I mean, it's a ridiculous sequence, and it took me forever to find this with my coach when we went through this game. But I'm actually just winning this piece back, or this piece. It's just too much pressure here. A kind of tricky spot, but maybe I should have seen this bishop takes a3. It's natural, I think. I need to work on my tactical vision. As soon as you have this pin, it's going to be immobilized. But even actually, in fact, queen a3, what's stopping b4? Nothing. Yeah. It's crushing. Upsetting, annoying is what it is. I played bishop f8 way too slow. I missed this completely. Can't look at the past. Queen d2 comes. At this point, I don't know what my opponent is doing. I think they're just shuffling pieces. I play knight d7. A plan is better than no plan. Queen g5, trying to rotate and attack. I play knight c5. I'm going after this bishop. Rook e d2. Defending that bishop. And I played knight b3. I thought, oh, I'm like penetrating, and in this position, Engine has me as -2. I am absolutely crushing here. Strategically, completely winning, even though it's even material. It's ridiculous. It's such a great move. And so rook e2 came, and I thought, well, knight c5. It's the most obvious move. Rook e2 came back. And now I was scared because I was thinking, I feel like I have a great position here. But I don't know what to do other than knight b3. And so I felt like the repetition was coming. And after rook e2, I played knight c5. I played knight c5 and offered the draw. It is a draw. He could have claimed it, but I played knight c5 and said draw. And it's a total mistake because I'm absolutely crushing this position. Before playing this knight c5 back, when I first came back to knight c5, I evaluated some other ideas instead of going to knight c5, maybe even knight d5 here, or even in this position I was considering, what if I just take and trade? But I wasn't convinced that there was anything, but in fact there was. I should have pushed. I thought this bishop was terrible, so I didn't really want to take it. And I believe that the Engine has some weird plans to sort of bring my pieces to even better squares. Apparently h4. But there's just so much weakness, and I could have played on. But I think I was just scared. This knight c5 was a total blunder. It's now just draw. Threefold repetition. And I give away a draw in a totally crushing position, albeit I couldn't really see a way out. I felt it was there, but I don't know. I didn't have the fight in me. I was tired. It was a double round day. I was already nervous. I don't know. At this point, I'm making excuses. Really, I should have just played on. I should have just accepted that if I lose, I lose. And who cares? But there we are. An unfortunate, really, really, really unfortunate series of events in this game. From nearly busted to getting away with an escape act and then just giving a draw for no apparent reason. But it is what it is. And so with that, another half point to my scores. And after 3 rounds, let me just change it. I am on 2 out of 3. Not bad, having drawn some of the highest rated opponents in the group. But a few big misses and mistakes along the way. I suppose all opportunity for learning. But other than that, I don't have much else for you. I don't really want to linger on this game much longer. I felt that I'd made a mistake. I'd left the hall and I just paced. I paced and I paced and I paced, and I was just in my own head. I was really annoyed with myself. But part of chess, part of life. We learn from it, I suppose. Other than that, I don't know what else to say. Painful game. Hopefully the next one is better. Take care and see you all soon. Bye-bye.